Welcome to California in Focus. I'm Aliana Kernodle. Several cities in several states, including California, have seen the rollout of new fire engines lauded as environmentally friendly alternatives to old diesel models. Joining me to tell us more about this is the Center Square's regional editor, David Mastio. David, what are they saying about these new fire engines, and what are they not saying?
Well, when the latest fire engine to roll out came to New Mexico, the governor said it was a zero-emission vehicle with an all-electric drive. And what she left out was that it has a diesel engine, because without the diesel engine, it can't pump water on a fire for very long. And this is happening all over the country. People are getting the message that this is a zero-emissions, all-electric vehicle. It happened in San Diego, California, when they got their vehicle. It happened in Arizona, in Texas, in Wisconsin, in Oregon. And the company that makes them, Oshkosh Corporation's Pierce Manufacturing in Appleton, Wisconsin, I called them up and got an engineer on the phone, and he was all excited to talk to me about the Volterra electric fire truck, which is the main fire truck that's causing this confusion. And when I started asking questions about the diesel engine, like how many horsepower it had, how many cylinders it had, how many gallons were in the diesel tank, he suddenly got a really bad memory, then said, could I email the questions? And then when I emailed the questions, he never responded. And I haven't been able to raise somebody on the phone at Pierce Manufacturing since then.
And how much do these new fire engines cost compared to the older models?
They're 40 or 50% more expensive. You can get a fire engine with a diesel engine for $1 million. You're talking about 1.5 or even $1.8 million for one that has both a diesel engine and an electric engine.
Obviously, there's a general push towards EVs and renewables, but what specific efforts are driving this shift?
Well, in California, there's CARB. CARB is the acronym, but it's the California Air Resources Board. It has regulations going into effect that are going to slowly outlaw internal combustion engines by, I believe, 2035. I'd have to double check. But at the federal level, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, is also pushing manufacturers to make more and more electric vehicles. Funnily enough, at the same time that CARB and the EPA are pushing us towards electric vehicles, with another hand, the federal government has a program called DERA that is aimed at removing old polluting diesel engines from use around the country, whether they're in locomotives or ships or trucks or what have you. DERA is paying for new diesel engines to be put in, and that's where the money for New Mexico's fire engine came from. So the government is outlawing things with one hand and funding the same things with the other. So it is hard to make sense of exactly what's going on.
Is the idea there that older diesel engines are less efficient and more likely to pollute, but like newer models, even though they're using diesel, are still better than older models? Is that the idea?
They are clearly better than old models. When you have a 20 or 30-year-old truck, it produces more than 10 times the pollution as a new diesel engine. But the thing is, the EPA and CARB don't care about how efficient your new diesel engine is. They want it gone. So the question is whether it makes sense to be investing in new diesel engines when in a few years we're going to outlaw them.
Yeah, and this also kind of raises the question, with California's move to outlaw them over time, isn't that going to also outlaw the current electric fire engine they have, since it also has a diesel engine in it? Is that going to be moot in a few years?
It is going to run afoul of the regulations, though I don't know, and I haven't been able to get an answer on whether there's an exception for emergency equipment. Because the reason that the fire engine needs the diesel engine is because it takes an incredible amount of energy to pump water at the pressures that a fire engine needs to do to fight a big fire. And California has a really big need. So it might make sense for there to be an exception in the law for fire engines.
Well, David, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.
Some people would call him a loser. He ran for state office. He was beaten. He started a business. He failed. He ran for Congress. He lost. He was nominated for vice president. He lost again. But he knew only those who never tried are the real losers. And Abraham Lincoln was no loser. Persistence. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at Value